This is Amy Gottliff, Vice President of Conservation at Oakland Zoo. Good to see people popping on to say hello. We are doing a very small little presentation here. There's no cocktails. I'm sorry. There's just conservation. It'll be short and it'll be sweet, but we want to talk about a very big issue, and that is the illegal wildlife trade. Oakland Zoo is doing everything they can with you, our community, to do our part to combat this trade. But we are inspired by other organizations that have dedicated their entire being and energy and expertise to this issue. And one is our own neighbor, WildAid. They are fantastic. If you care about the illegal wildlife trade, you have to know about them. They have taken the idea of creating social behavior change based on the human need to do what cool people do, which is kind of what we do, right? To follow the lead of a celebrity and really listen to their message. WildAid has done things to stop the demand in different countries around rhino horn and ivory tusks and pangolin and shark, and they're incredible. They've created amazing change in this world, and we're very lucky to have, just for a few minutes, an amazing change maker and the person who came up with this whole idea, Peter Knights. So we're gonna bring him on. You're almost there.
Oh, hi, Emmy. How you doing? Nice to see you.
Great, Peter. Thank you so much. I love that you're sitting there in front of gorgeous elephant photos.
My Ambercelli elephants picture behind me.
It's fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter. It's great to have you. You guys set the bar on doing something about this issue, getting right to the heart. And well, I didn't have this on my list of questions, but I recently read that you were an investigator. You were right in the heart of things at one point. What made you decide to do what you're doing and do it the way you're doing it?
To change it. Well, yes, I did start my work on environmental stuff as an undercover investigator of illegal wildlife trade for the Environmental Investigation Agency. And at that time, when I started, I'm going to date myself now, back in 1989, we had what I call the first ivory war, which was going from 75 to 1989, where we lost half of Africa's elephants due to basically illegal ivory trade, enabling the laundering of illegal ivory. It was supposed to be a regulated trade, but we lost half of Africa's elephants during that period. And EIA did the exposure of that to say, look, this is going on and we need to stop it. So that was my roots. But doing that work took me to both Africa and Asia, where a lot of the destination was. And it became very clear that the people in Asia that were buying these products had no idea what was going on. They're like, well, elephants died of old age. Someone picks up the tusk. What's the problem? And of course, you could have ivory trade like that. But of course, being human beings, we don't like to wait that long. And we want to poach the elephant and grab it as soon as we can and sell it. So and sadly, that was the first ivory war. We then had the second ivory war between 2008 and 2014 or so, which was when China reopened the ivory trade. And the poaching went through the roof. And thankfully, we were able, with the good graces of Yao Ming from the NBA and the Chinese government, we were able to get that banned and do a very successful campaign to reduce the price of ivory by more than 2/3. And thankfully, that was the second ivory war. Now, we still have some poaching going on, but it's at much lower levels now. And in many cases, those elephant populations can sustain those levels. We still have problems with the forest elephants, as you know. They're still being poached way too heavily. But some of the populations in Southern Africa and East Africa are recovering and on the mend.
Wow. So just here's one of your ads. It's inspiring. And what made you think, like, yeah, we need celebrities and other popular people to set the tone?
Well, I mean, somebody said, well, we only listen to scientists. I'm like, well, how many scientific journals has the average person read in the last few weeks? It's very clear we need, popular culture. And, the celebrities are, for me, the sweetness for the bitter pill. I mean, what we have to communicate is pretty sad. It's pretty bad news usually. But if we can get celebrities on board to draw people into the attention, then they're ready to hear that message. And the other thing we're trying to do is reset societal norms. So I call it the zebra theory, but nobody wants to be the front zebra or the last zebra because that's the one the lion eats. You want to be right in the middle of the herd. And so we want to try and persuade people is that the herd is not consuming ivory, not consuming shark fin and these things. And you want to be right in the middle. So to do that, we get all kinds of people from Yao Ming's to Jackie Chan's to Chinese business leaders to musicians like Lang Lang to, in some cases, religious leaders, all to come out saying this is not socially acceptable. It's not morally acceptable, and we have to stop it. And we try and change the societal norm. And I think we've been very successful in China at moving that equation forward. And now you caught me 2 days. I'm off to Nigeria on tomorrow in about 24 hours, actually. And that's become the hub now of the illegal ivory trade. And they have about 400 elephants left. That's all in Nigeria. But what you discover is people don't even understand, they don't know that. And when they're genuinely shocked when they hear it, but nobody's been communicating to the public there about this. And we've got the same kind of setup of celebrities and musicians, all these people on board to raise awareness there, because as you know, the next problem after solving the ivory trade is the habitat destruction and the impact that climate change is having on elephants. So we need to get public more sympathetic for the wildlife to protect against those threats too.
Well, what you're doing is amazing. I'm just going to show this one video that tells a story of pangolins, which is really, I'm thankful people are learning.
Years ago, pangolins lived over Africa and Asia. Every year, tens of thousands of pangolins
for their meat and skills. At this rate, soon, there will be no pangolins left. I like magic, but this one disappearing act I really hate.
Please, never buy pangolin products. When the buying stop, the killing can't you.
The most popular musician across Asia, in Thailand and Vietnam, but particularly China, is Taiwanese. And he's been a big supporter of ours. And actually, that was one ad, but he also did one ad, which I think went viral in China when COVID hit, because it was really, we had basically people pretending to eat a pangolin, wearing the mask, and with putting on gloves to say, if you eat pangolin and other endangered species, there's a risk you may contract a new disease. And indeed, pangolins were found with coronavirus. We still don't know what happened with COVID and how it got transmitted, but there is a chance it came through pangolins. If not COVID, certainly other diseases could be transmitted through pangolins. And one of the dishes they serve for pangolin is raw blood. They have the raw blood of the pangolin on rice. Now, if you wanted to invent a way to get a disease to jump species, that is the way. And so a lot of our message now on pangolins in Africa too is this isn't just about the health of the animals. This is about our health too. The most likely source of a new pandemic is from wild animals. And if you think about it, the most likely source is from animals that have been taken from a remote rainforest that hasn't had any human interaction before. And so this is not just a threat for the wildlife, it's a threat for us. And we need to protect these animals to protect ourselves.
I hate and love that. I mean, how terrible that this is likely how it all started. And if the message works, the message works.
Well, we don't know with COVID. It definitely originated in bats. It may have come from a laboratory, but a laboratory studying bats. But it very also likely could have come from these wildlife markets, as did MERS and SARS. And, HIV believed go from monkeys to chimps to human beings. So the bushmeat trade is really, one of the major risk factors for this new disease. And there's been estimated there may be 600 to 800,000 of these viruses out there in nature, which remain dormant and harmless until we take animals and butcher them and trade them. And then, in the case of Nigeria, bring them into a city of 22 million people. And there's still pangolins being sold within Lagos right now. And we're trying to stop that with the government now and educate people as to why not to do it, find them alternatives, and try and turn people off illegal bushmeat.
Oh my, thank you. Yeah, nature has its intention, and she will be kind to us unless we cross that line, which we have.
Absolutely. I mean, we continue to do it in many areas like climate change and deforestation. All of these things are risk factors for increased disease. And this is the CDC saying this. It's not us. This is, sort of scientific community is saying this. And so, when the climate change moves animals out, we're working in Gabon and the elephant conflict there. It's due to two things, partly. One is the poaching of elephants, which is driving elephants away from the remote areas in towards where the populations are. And the elephants are getting into trouble because they're eating the crops. The other thing that's happened due to climate change is the forest fruit from the trees is failing. So the natural source of food for the elephants is going. So they're raiding the crops. Then that gets in trouble. We say there's too many elephants. But, it's not really the elephants' fault. It's our fault that we've created these problems for them. And they're just reacting to that.
It's just a chain of events. Well, you're working to break that chain, and we want to thank you so much. And so we can't do the giant things you do, Peter, but at the Oakland Zoo, we're going to try to do a little something. And I just want to share with everybody, in case you don't know, on Saturday, we have something called End the Trade Day. And we're going to be teaching kids about this at a kid level. Kids are going to be able to become like little investigative wardens. We have the California Department of Fish and Wildlife is joining us, and we're partnering with them. They're bringing their dogs. And we are inviting people to return the tusk so they can come anonymously, drive right through and drop off something that they may have had tucked away, whether it's an antique store or something you inherited. And it's something that you can get off your shelf and give to us. And we're going to give it to these wardens, and they're going to use it for forensics, teaching, training, and then in order to do their job better. So you can drop it off at the zoo, come right in, be our, come in and be part of this day, or in the late afternoon, evening, you can just drop it off anonymously, drive right up. We're just going to say thank you. And we really hope that that's going to help. And we were wondering, do you think that'll help, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, anything that drives awareness is helpful. And, US was a major market for ivory. A lot of people don't know, but in the turn of the century, US was the major market. The East Coast was towns making pianos and billiard balls and things like that. And more recently, American tourists used to buy ivory coming in. And actually, I was in Japan last year, and, I had people there. In the 1970s, that first ivory war I was talking about, a lot of people in Japan were buying an ivory tusk as like a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation. Wow. So as people buy Krugerrands and gold, they were doing that with ivory. And there's we reckoned on our calculations, over 200,000 elephant tusks in Japan that haven't been sold, haven't been traded, and haven't been worked. And they're just sitting in people's attics. And most of those people who bought them now have passed away. And so their children have them. And I have people in Japan coming up to me saying, I have this tusk. I don't want to sell it. I don't want to display it. What do I do with it? And so, it is difficult to know. I mean, it feels wrong to destroy it because it's a thing that's there, but you've got to get it out of circulation. And if it can be used for educational purposes to prevent other people wanting to buy ivory, then I think that's a great use of it.
All right. Well, thank you. And I hate to let you go. I'm glad you're going off to Nigeria, probably having dinner, but we hope you'll join us again, and we'll get you for longer next time, Peter.
Absolutely. There's 1,000 tales to tell, unfortunately. And, I do say to people, my biggest job is trying to put myself out of business and end the trade.
Thank you. We support that, and we support you, and we're very grateful. And safe and productive travels, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay. We hope we see whoever's here on Saturday.
Bye.
Bye.